My name is James, Jimmy, Carter, no relation to the president, though that joke stopped being funny around my second deployment. I'm 37 years old. Former Navy SEAL, 12 years in the teams. 2 Bronze Stars. 1 Purple Heart. 3 bullet scars. And until a year ago, I thought I had seen everything a man could see before his time was up. I was wrong. I grew up in a small town just outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. Dad was a preacher. Mom taught Sunday school. Church on Sundays wasn't a choice, it was our family law. I walked away from it all when I turned 18. Not out of hate, just life. The teams became my church. My brothers were my congregation. And war was my liturgy. I got married after my second tour. Her name's Rachel, she was a nurse in San Diego when we met. Blue eyes that could cut through the worst kind of day. Smart, kind, and stronger than anyone gives her credit for. We have a son, Luke. He's 9 now. Loves baseball, space documentaries, and insists Jesus was the first astronaut because he ascended. Can't argue with that. But this story isn't about medals, or war, or even death in the traditional sense. This story is about what I saw after. After my heart stopped. After my body was torn open. After the world faded to black. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It started back home, not overseas. I had been stateside for about 6 months. Semi-retired, working private security in Houston. Good money, boring work. I was spending more time with Luke, trying to be the dad I hadn't been during the long years of combat deployments. But something wasn't right. I couldn't sleep. Not the usual combat dreams either, something deeper. I started having visions, waking dreams. Cities in flames. Skies full of ash. Children crying out to parents who were already gone. Over and over again, I'd see the same thing, a black sun, hanging in the sky like a dead eye, and a wave of fire sweeping across America like judgment. I didn't tell Rachel at first. How do you explain to your wife that you're dreaming of nuclear fire swallowing everything you love? But then Luke started having dreams too. One night he came into our room, tears running down his cheeks, and whispered, "Daddy, God says we have to pray more. The fire is coming." I froze. He didn't know about my dreams. I hadn't told a soul. Not even my team buddies. Rachel sat up. "What fire, baby?" He just shook his head and repeated, "It's coming. And Daddy's gonna go away again, but this time he won't come back unless he talks to Jesus." I didn't sleep that night. The following week, I got called up for a contract job, Africa. Classified operation. 3 weeks. Easy money, no high risk. I didn't want to go. Rachel begged me to turn it down. But I told myself it was nothing. That I needed the money. That I was being paranoid. Before I left, Luke gave me a drawing. Crayon on construction paper. A picture of me standing in front of a wall of fire, hands lifted to the sky. Above me, a figure in white. And beneath it, scribbled in his crooked little boy handwriting, "Don't be afraid, Daddy. He will find you." I folded it and put it in my pocket. Right over my heart. You have to understand something. I wasn't a religious man. I used to be, back when I was a kid. But war strips a lot from you, and faith is the first thing to go when you're holding your best friend's body in your arms at 3 a.m. in the middle of Kandahar. But something about that picture, something about Luke's words, it stuck with me. I didn't know it then, but I was about to die. And when I did, I wasn't going to the void. I was going somewhere else. The op was routine. At least, that's what they told us. We were 6 Americans, for local contractors, and enough firepower to level a compound twice over. Objective: intercept a high-value target tied to weapons trafficking in northern Mali. Coordinates remote, weather dry, visibility low. Just the kind of operation we used to joke about. In and out, home for breakfast. We inserted at 0300 hours. Standard approach. Drones cleared the perimeter. No movement. But something felt off from the moment my boots hit the sand. It wasn't the enemy. It wasn't logistics. It was like the land itself didn't want us there. And then it happened. I was breaching a side structure when the ground buckled. A blast tore through the earth beneath me, not from enemy fire. An old Soviet-era mine. Buried and forgotten. In an instant I was airborne. The world flipped. And then, nothing. No sound. No pain. Just a moment of stillness, like time hesitated. Then darkness swallowed everything. I remember the feeling of being pulled. Not falling. Not floating. Just drawn, like my soul was on a string, and someone was slowly reeling it in. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in pain. I wasn't in my body. I was standing barefoot in a vast, barren desert. But this wasn't Earth. The sand beneath my feet glowed faintly, like embers after a fire. The sky was an inverted storm, dark, swirling clouds churning in silence above a horizon that never seemed to end. There was no sun. No moon. Only a strange illumination, as though light existed without a source. I wasn't alone. Figures walked across the desert, scattered and silent. Men, women, children, some barely clothed, others in military gear like mine. All of them looked lost, hollow-eyed, whispering to things I couldn't see. They never acknowledged me. They just wandered, trapped in their own loops. I tried to speak, but no sound came. Then I felt it, behind me. A presence. I turned, and there he was. A man, tall, radiant, and terrible in the way that only true holiness can be. Not like the paintings or stained glass windows. No robe, no golden sash. He wore white, but it shimmered like liquid starlight. His eyes, they weren't blue or brown or green. They were truth. Not looking at me, but through me. My knees buckled. I fell to the ground, trembling. He spoke, and though his lips didn't move, his voice filled the desert. You came close, Jimmy. Too close. But there is still work to do. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to beg for answers. He stepped closer. And the desert responded. The sand near him turned to gold, the air smelled like spring after rain. You've lived with fire. Breathed it. Carried it. And now you've seen the shadow of what's coming. There is a fire coming, Jimmy. But it will not burn buildings. It will burn hearts. And only those who return to me will endure. I looked around. What is this place? I asked, my voice suddenly audible, shaking like a child's. This is the in-between, he said. Where souls touch eternity and are given a choice. I looked into his face and saw everything, my pride, my violence, my moments of hate, and every lie I had justified in the name of survival. And beneath it all, the ache. The ache for meaning. For peace. For a home I had never known. And he saw it too. You've forgotten me, he said. But I have never forgotten you. You must return and speak. Warn them. Tell them that the time is short. Nations will rise against nations. Fire will fall. Not because I willed it, but because they turned away. Then, he reached into the air and pulled down what looked like a burning scroll. Images flashed across the sky. I saw New York in ruins, Washington silent, mushroom clouds on the horizon. I saw children weeping in schoolyards. And yet, among it all, I saw people kneeling, in living rooms, in fields, in prisons. Praying. And around them, light. A barrier the fire couldn't cross. This is the dividing line, he said. Not wealth, not politics. Faith. Those who call upon my name will stand. All others. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. I felt a weight on my chest. Heard voices calling my name. Then pain. White-hot, body-splitting pain. I gasped. I was back. They said I had flatlined for over 7 minutes. Lost 2 pints of blood. Should have been brain dead. But I was alive. And I remembered everything. Back in the hospital bed, I reached into my ruined tactical vest. Somehow, Luke's drawing was still there, singed around the edges, but untouched at its heart. "Don't be afraid, Daddy. He will find you." He did. Now I had to do what he asked. They released me from the hospital a week later. No major brain damage, no spinal trauma. My doctors called it a miracle. Said I had beaten the odds, survived something no one should have. But it wasn't just survival. I didn't feel like the same person who had gone into that operation. It was like the war inside me had changed shape. I flew home to Houston with a limp, a stitched-up shoulder, and a weight in my chest that no X-ray could identify. The flight felt longer than usual. Not because of the pain, but because I kept seeing flashes, not dreams, not memories, but reminders. Burning skies. The figure in white. The scroll. Warn them. That was all I could think about. Rachel met me at the airport. She didn't run, didn't cry, she just held me like she'd never let go again. Luke stood behind her, looking up at me with those same calm, knowing eyes he'd had since birth. He didn't say, "Welcome back." He just asked, "Did you see him?" I nodded. Rachel froze. "What do you mean, Luke? See who?" He looked at her, then at me. "He told me you would. I prayed every night." My knees almost gave out right there at baggage claim. I held my son close and whispered, "Don't stop praying. Not ever." The first few days home were strange. My body was healing, but my spirit was burning. I couldn't sit still. Couldn't look at a television without seeing flashes of what was coming. Politicians shouting. Markets crashing. Division widening. And behind it all, fire. One night, I woke up drenched in sweat, Rachel beside me still asleep, Luke snoring softly in the next room. I walked outside into the backyard, looked up at the sky. No stars. Just a low, smothering haze from wildfires in the west. Even the sky seemed tired. And then I heard it. Not with my ears, with my soul. "They are not ready." The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in almost 20 years. I went to church. It was a small place. Brick building. No flashing signs. Just a white cross and a wooden door. It smelled like hymnals and carpet cleaner. A few dozen people scattered through the pews. The pastor was a woman in her 60s, soft voice, gentle presence. She spoke about forgiveness that morning, about how God waits even when we run. After the service, I asked to speak with her. I told her everything. The desert. The man in white. The warning. I expected her to think I was traumatized, delusional, maybe even dangerous. But she just looked me in the eyes and said, "You saw what the prophets saw." Then she prayed with me. A prayer of restoration. Of mission. And for the first time since I was a child, I wept in front of God. I started writing. Pages and pages. The visions. The message. The warning. I recorded a video testimony and posted it online. I told the story without drama, without exaggeration, just truth. At first, it got a few hundred views. Then thousands. People began reaching out, some with similar dreams, some with nothing but questions. Soldiers, nurses, truckers, teachers. People who had never prayed in their life now asking, "Is it too late?" I told them the truth. It's never too late to turn back. But the clock is ticking. A week later, I was invited to speak at a local veterans group. Just 10 guys in folding chairs in a dusty church gymnasium. I told them what I saw. One man, tough as nails, former ranger, broke down crying. He said he had a dream the same week I was injured. A giant wave coming over a black mountain, and a voice saying, "Tell them to return." He'd ignored it, until now. We prayed together that night. Grown men who had stormed cities in foreign countries, now storming heaven with whispered prayers. And I realized, this was the mission. Not bullets. Not tactics. Testimony. But not everyone was listening. Some mocked. Some said I was mentally broken. One guy emailed me, said I was a pawn in the religious machine, and needed therapy. Maybe he's right. But I saw what I saw. And the silence in America now, the normalcy, the distractions, the endless debates over things that don't matter, it's like the air before a tornado. Still. Pressurized. Waiting to explode. Warn them, he had said. So I did. So I do. And I'm warning you now. The storm is real. The fire is near. But there is refuge. Only one. Fall to your knees. Return to God. Pray like your soul depends on it, because it does. It began with headlines. Not the kind that scream panic, no mushroom clouds, no bombs, just quiet chaos. Markets twitching. Blackouts in cities that never sleep. A viral clip of a senator breaking down mid-interview, repeating the same phrase. Something is coming. We're not ready. God help us. Then it spread. In Europe, mass protests. In Asia, a naval standoff that made global silence stretch thin. And here, in America, people stopped listening. No one wanted to hear the warnings anymore. My inbox went from prayer requests to threats. I was labeled a religious extremist, a doomsday fraud. Some said I was exploiting fear. A few wanted me dead. But others kept writing. Quiet voices. Whispered prayers. A woman in Kansas said her 5-year-old woke up crying, saying, "The sky turned black, but I was okay because I prayed." A police officer in Ohio said he saw flames rolling across the street in a dream, and houses of prayer untouched. A retired general from D.C. wrote simply, "It's true. I've seen it too. May God forgive us all." Something was shifting. Below the noise, below the anger and apathy, a remnant was waking up. Rachel was scared. She didn't say it out loud, but I could see it in the way she looked at Luke, like each hug had to last longer than the last. She supported me, but the tension weighed heavy in our home. Luke, on the other hand, seemed strangely calm. One night I asked him, "Are you afraid of what's coming?" He shook his head. "No, Daddy." He said he'd protect the ones who pray. Then he looked up at me and said something I'll never forget. "But we have to help other people remember how to talk to Him." So that became our mission. Not just warning, preparing. I started meeting in small groups, homes, parks, even the back of pickup trucks on the edge of empty fields. No politics. No denominations. Just people, hungry for something real. We prayed. We wept. We repented. And the more we gathered, the more I felt it, a different fire rising. Not the one that consumes, but the one that cleanses. The fire of the Spirit. The fire of return. Then came the final vision. I was in my garage, tuning up an old dirt bike with Luke. Suddenly, everything went still. Even the air. And I saw it again, not a dream, not sleep, but sight. A massive city skyline, maybe Dallas, maybe Atlanta, split in two by light and darkness. One side burning with chaos. The other glowing with gold, surrounded by kneeling figures. I saw angels, not with wings, but with eyes like stars, standing between fire and flesh. And then I saw him again. The same figure from the desert. His voice thundered without sound. "The fire is not the end. It is the beginning. I will shake the nations. And those who cling to me will not fall. Call them back. Cry out. Tell them the hour is later than they know." And then silence. I don't know how much time we have left. Could be months. Could be weeks. Maybe tomorrow. But I do know this. You are not reading this by accident. There is a shaking coming, political, spiritual, physical, and only those rooted in prayer, in repentance, in Jesus, will stand. Not religion. Not self-help. Not prepping without purpose. Prayer. Intimacy. Return. Cry out. You don't need a cathedral. You don't need perfect words. You just need to fall to your knees and say, "God, I'm yours. Forgive me. Change me. Lead me. I was a warrior for this country. Now I'm a soldier of a different kind. And this is my battle cry to you. Return. Repent. Pray. Because the fire is near. But so is His mercy. And only one will reach you first.